Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Deep Dive, your spot for really digging into those tech topics that get us thinking. Today, we're jumping into the fascinating, sometimes pretty confusing world of Java.
That's right.
Specifically, we want to break down the key differences between Oracle JDK and OpenJDK. What's really going on with these two, and, why should we care? Whether you're coding every day or just tech curious.
Hey there. Yeah, this is such a fundamental question in the development world, whether you're just starting out with programming or you've been around the block a few times. Understanding the nuances between Oracle JDK and OpenJDK can save you headaches and potentially some money, too.
Definitely money.
They're both implementations of the Java development kit, obviously.
Yeah.
But their paths have diverged in some really interesting ways over the years.
Exactly. And to make sure this dive is as deep and accurate as possible, we've done our own homework, digging into some solid sources. We've looked at articles from InfoQ, Red Hat, the folks at Bellsoft, and notes from Jorge Armbide, too.
Good stuff.
So, with all that info, we're aiming to build a really complete and importantly up-to-date picture of this whole situation, which sometimes feels like a bit of a maze.
It really can.
Yeah.
Our main mission today is just to clarify what essentially sets these two JDKs apart. We want you to walk away from this feeling confident about making informed decisions.
Right.
Whether it's for that personal project you're kicking around, setting up a production environment at work, or, hey, maybe just satisfying some tech curiosity, we're looking for those aha moments, those times where it clicks and you go, okay, now I get why this actually matters.
Yeah, totally. And to make sure nobody nods off halfway through, we're going to keep this pretty relaxed, try not to get bogged down in super technical jargon that can sometimes just, confuse things more.
Good plan.
We want the information to be accessible, maybe even a bit entertaining, and definitely practical for everyone, from the person just learning Java to the seasoned guru. Okay, if that sounds good, let's get started with the first big piece, licenses and terms of use. This is really where things start to get interesting.
Absolutely. This is ground zero for a lot of the differences. Let's start with Oracle JDK. Historically, up until Java version 8, Oracle offered it under something called the binary code license.
Okay, binary code license.
Yeah. And it was free for general use, mostly, but the fine print started to show up when you talked about redistribution or if you needed commercial support.
Ah, okay. So for learning at home or maybe a small personal app, it was fine. But if you wanted to use it for something more serious, like a product you sell, or if you needed direct help from Oracle, things changed.
Exactly. Then fast forward to 2018 with Java 11, Oracle kind of pulled a U-turn. They started requiring a paid commercial license to use Oracle JDK in production environments.
Whoa, okay.
And on top of that, they stopped releasing free public updates for those versions.
Yeah.
Now, as you can imagine, that caused a pretty big stir in the community.
I bet.
A lot of people started scrambling for free alternatives like OpenJDK or other distributions.
Wow, so something many folks just assumed was free suddenly wasn't, at least not for professional use. I can see why people started looking around. That whole licensing shift sounds like a key reason why the community support around OpenJDK became so vital.
Yeah, it was a period of quite a bit of uncertainty. But the story doesn't quite end there. In 2021, Oracle seemed to rethink things a bit and introduced a new license, the Oracle No Fee Terms and Conditions, or NFTC.
NFTC, got it.
This applied to Java 17 and later versions. And under this license, Oracle JDK is, once again, free for all uses, including production.
Huh?
But there's always a but, right?
Yeah. Always. Okay, so what's the catch this time?
The catch is the duration of those free updates. For long-term support versions, the LTS releases, like Java 17, Oracle provides free updates under NFTC only until 1 year after the next LTS version is released.
Okay, wait. So the LTS cycle shortened to 2 years, right?
Exactly. So do the math. 2 years between LTS releases plus 1 year of overlap. That gives you roughly 3 years of free updates in total from when an LTS version first comes out.
3 years.
Okay, after that 3-year window, if you want to keep using that specific Oracle JDK LTS version in production and keep getting security patches and updates, you need to purchase a commercial subscription. Think of the NFTC as sort of a time-limited free trial for production use on Oracle JDK's LTS versions.
Okay, so if you jump on the latest LTS pretty quickly, you get a decent free run, but you have to stay on your toes about when the next LTS is coming out so you don't fall off the free support cliff. And if you're sticking with older versions, get the checkbook ready.
That's pretty much it. And to add another layer, in 2023, Oracle also rolled out a new enterprise subscription model based on the total number of employees in an organization, not just the ones using Java.
Oh,
For large companies, this could potentially mean a significant cost increase. It could be a real budget surprise if you weren't expecting it.
wow, yeah. It sounds like with Oracle, you really need to read the fine print carefully and track those dates, or you might get an unexpected bill. So how does the licensing look on the OpenJDK side? Is it simpler?
Ah, yes. On the OpenJDK side, it's a completely different movie. OpenJDK is fully open source. It's distributed under the GNU GPL version 2 license, but with a crucial addition called the class path exception.
GPL v2 with class path exception. What does that mean in plain English?
It means it's free. Free for any use you can think of. Personal, commercial, academic, whatever. No restrictions on deploying your applications. And that class path exception is key,
Why is that so important?
because it allows applications that use the OpenJDK libraries to not be forced into the GPL license themselves. Your own code can have whatever license you choose. It keeps things separate.
Nice. That sounds much better for getting started, right? No constant worry about surprise charges down the line.
Definitely. It removes a major barrier. And this whole OpenJDK project started back in 2007 when Sun Microsystems decided to open source the Java code. Since then, it's been the official reference implementation of Java SE.
So every time a new Java version comes out, LTS or otherwise, there's automatically a free OpenJDK version available.
Exactly right. Every single Java release has its free OpenJDK counterpart. No hidden costs, no need for commercial licenses, even if you're running it on a production server with thousands of users. And maybe the best part, anyone can take the OpenJDK source code, build it themselves, and distribute it.
Interesting.
In fact, Oracle themselves provide OpenJDK builds under that same GPL license. But crucially, Oracle does not offer commercial support for those open source builds they provide.
Okay. So Oracle gives away the open source code, but if you want their official help with a problem on their specific build, you need the paid Oracle JDK version.
Correct, but the OpenJDK community is huge and incredibly active. You've got tons of companies, Red Hat, Azul, Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, the list goes on, who maintain their own distributions based on OpenJDK. And many of them offer optional commercial support if you need it.
Right. So if you go with OpenJDK, you get the freedom to use it cost-free. And if you ever do need professional help, there are multiple vendors you can choose from, potentially at different price points.
Precisely. So, to sum up licensing, Oracle JDK has more restrictive terms that can lead to costs, especially long-term. OpenJDK is completely free and open source under a permissive license. I think that lays out the core difference pretty clearly.
Yeah, that's a huge difference right there. Okay, so knowing the licensing situation, the next critical piece is understanding who provides support and maintenance for each JDK. Shall we move on to support?
Let's do it, because, like you said, free is great, but you also need to know who's got your back if things go sideways.
Exactly. How does support work with Oracle JDK?
Well, with Oracle JDK, the primary maintenance developing patches, security updates, performance tweaks, it's all handled by Oracle. They offer technical support and extended updates for their JDK versions, but typically only to customers paying for a subscription.
Right.
For instance, extended support for older but still popular versions like Oracle JDK 8 and 11 is only available if you have an active commercial contract.
Makes sense. It's like buying software where you pay an annual fee for ongoing updates and tech support.
Pretty much. Oracle's LTS versions often have a very long supported lifespan under contract, sometimes well over a decade, with guaranteed critical patches and fixes during that time. Plus, those Oracle subscriptions often bundle in extra tooling for managing Java environments, like the Java Management Service or Grail VM Enterprise Edition.
So if you're a large enterprise with mission-critical apps needing that guaranteed long-term support and direct access to the vendor, paying for Oracle JDK could make a lot of sense.
Definitely. It's very much geared towards enterprise environments that need those kinds of guarantees. But remember, if you don't have a subscription, the free support under the NFTC license only covers you while that version is actively supported under those terms, roughly 3 years for an LTS. After that, you either need to upgrade to a newer version covered by NFPC or start paying for updates.
Okay. And what about OpenJDK on the support front? Who's providing the TLC there?
Well, being a community project, the official support for OpenJDK is exactly that, community-based and distributed. Oracle does participate and contribute significantly to the OpenJDK project, especially the newer versions, but they don't offer commercial support directly for OpenJDK itself.
So there's no single Oracle hotline to call if your OpenJDK build blows up and you expect them to fix it for you.
Correct. But in practice, OpenJDK maintenance involves a lot of players. Oracle, Red Hat, Azure, Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, they all collaborate, contributing patches and fixes back to the open source codebase. OpenJDK versions get security updates and patches while they're considered active.
How long is that usually?
Well, the OpenLTS versions typically get quarterly updates directly from the main project for maybe 6 months to a year after release.
And after that initial period, are you just left with an older, potentially vulnerable version?
Not necessarily. This is where the different distributors step up. After that initial phase, the ongoing maintenance for older OpenJDK LTS versions is often picked up by specific vendors or community initiatives. For example, Red Hat leads the effort for maintaining OpenJDK 8 and OpenJDK 11, providing updates long after Oracle stopped releasing free public updates for them.
Ah, interesting.
And these community-provided updates are what distributions like Eclipse Tamarin from Adoptium, Amazon Corretto, Azul Zulu, and IBM Simaru use. So that lack of direct Oracle support is often filled by this robust ecosystem.
Okay, so even if Oracle isn't providing free updates for, say, OpenJDK 11 anymore, other companies take the lead and keep patching it. That's pretty cool. It shows the strength of that community model, keeping these important LTS versions alive and secure.
Exactly. And these third-party vendors often offer optional commercial support for their OpenJDK distributions, usually at a lower cost than Oracle's subscription. Or you could just use the publicly available patches for free.
Yeah.
This gives you the flexibility to use OpenLTS versions securely for many years without paying Oracle directly. So, long story short, OpenJDK has very active community support, plus multiple options for professional support from different vendors if you need it.
Okay, it sounds like OpenJDK offers more choices and potentially lower long-term support costs. Now, the million-dollar question. Are there actual technical or performance differences? Does one run faster than the other?
This is where things get really interesting, because the short answer is no significant differences, especially not since Java 11, in terms of core Java functionality and JVM performance.
Really?
Yeah. Both Oracle JDK and the common OpenJDK builds are compiled from the exact same source code base now. They include the same major features like Java Flight Recorder and Mission Control, which used to be exclusive to Oracle JDK.
Wow, okay, so under the hood, the engine is basically identical.
Pretty much. They share the same code, so they work in a very similar way. Performance studies and benchmarks, things like SpixJab and SpexJVM, consistently show that OpenJDK performs right alongside Oracle JDK. No noticeable speed difference for standard workloads. Red Hat even confirms this same performance for code adhering to Java SE specs.
So if my application sticks to the Java standards, I shouldn't see any performance hit or gain switching between them.
Correct. Now, historically, there were some minor differences in specific components or implementations, but those have largely disappeared in recent versions.
Like what?
For example, back with Java 11, the Oracle JDK bundle included Java FX and a native installer package, while the baseline OpenJDK didn't. Java FX was separate, and OpenJDK often came as just a zip or tarball. Oracle also had official Solaris support, while OpenJDK was more Linux-focused early on. Little things like that.
Gotcha. So more about the packaging and bundled extras, not the core JVM itself.
Mostly, yes. Another example is the Shenandoah garbage collector, developed by Red Hat. It was available in some OpenJDK builds before Oracle officially included in their JDK, but Oracle has been actively working to close any remaining gaps. They even announced around Java 12 that their binaries would be essentially identical to the OpenJDK builds going forward, removing that potential divergence.
That's good. Makes things simpler. A program compiled with one should just run on the other, no drama.
That's the idea. The few remaining technical differences, maybe some very specific Oracle monitoring tools or niche components, are really edge cases. For the vast majority of applications, the behavior and performance of Oracle JDK and OpenJDK are equivalent.
Excellent news. So performance-wise, we can rest easy choosing either. Okay, what about compatibility then? Tools, libraries, frameworks, any issues there?
Well, again, since they both implement the same Java SE specification, compatibility with the wider Java ecosystem is practically identical.
That's crucial.
Yeah. Any standard Java development tool, your IDEs like IntelliJ or Eclipse, build systems like Maven or Gradle, application servers like Tomcat or GBoss Wildfly, they all work just the same with both Oracle JDK and OpenJDK. There aren't any public Java APIs present in Oracle JDK that are missing from OpenJDK. Both pass the same rigorous technology compatibility kit, or TCK tests.
Okay, good. The last thing anyone wants is their app breaking just because they switched JDKs.
Exactly. As Red Hat points out, there's no difference in how they function with standard Java SE code. Third-party libraries don't care which one you're using either. It's true the vendor identifier property, java.vendor, is different, but that rarely, if ever, impacts applications.
What about older applications, though? Could there be issues migrating?
There could be very isolated cases, mainly if an old application was relying on internal, non-standard APIs from, say, Oracle JDK8 things in the Sun packages.
Mm-hmm.
Those were never officially supported APIs and aren't part of OpenJDK. But any modern, well-written Java software should be using the public Java SE APIs, which guarantees compatibility.
Right. Stick to the public APIs and you should be fine. Good advice, generally. And what about monitoring tools like Java Mission Control and Flight Recorder? You mentioned they used to be Oracle only.
Yeah, they used to be proprietary features of Oracle JDK. But the great news is they were open-sourced and contributed to the OpenJDK project. So since Java 11, both JMC and JFR are available and work equally well with OpenJDK builds. So really, from an ecosystem compatibility standpoint, there's no functional distinction. Both are 100% Java SE compliant.
Perfect. So up to this point, OpenJDK is looking like a really strong contender for most use cases. Let's talk about the update frequency and policy. How often do new versions come out, and how long are they kept up to date?
Okay, both Oracle JDK and OpenJDK follow the same official Java release cadence. That means a new feature released every 6 months, typically in March and September.
Right, the 6-month cycle.
And then approximately every 2 years, one of these releases is designated as a long-term support, or LTS version, like Java 11, 17, 21, and so on. Oracle provides quarterly updates, security patches, bug fixes during the active support phase for each version.
Okay, so frequent feature releases plus these more stable LTS versions for those who prefer not to update constantly.
Exactly. Now, for the non-LTS versions, that active support phase is short, basically just until the next feature release comes out 6 months later. For LTS versions, Oracle traditionally provided free public updates for several years, followed by paid extended support, but with the NFTC license for Java 17 and later.
The 3-year free update window we talked about earlier.
Right. Roughly 3 years of free updates for each LTS, specifically until 1 year after the next LTS is released. After that time, you either need a paid Oracle subscription to keep getting patches for that version, or you need to migrate to the next LTS version that's still under its free NFTC period. So for Java 17, for example, those free updates under NFTC run until roughly September 2024, which is 1 year after Java 21 came out. If you miss that window, you either pay or upgrade.
Got it. How does OpenJDK handle updates? Does it follow the same rhythm?
Yes. OpenJDK versions are released concurrently with Oracle JDK, since OpenJDK is the upstream project. Same 6-month cycle, same LTS designations. However, the update policy is where things differ slightly. The main OpenJDK project itself doesn't guarantee long-term support once development moves to the next version.
So similar short support for non-LTS versions in OpenJDK too?
Yes, pretty much the same as Oracle support generally lasts until the next release. For OpenJDK LTS versions, though, it's a bit different. Typically, Oracle and other contributors provide those quarterly updates to the main OpenJDK LTS repositories for about 6 to 12 months after the initial release.
And after that initial year or so, who handles the long-term updates for OpenJDK LTS?
That's where the community and the different distributors come in again. As we mentioned with support, initiatives like the OpenJDK Updates project, often led by companies like Red Hat, take over the maintenance for older LTS versions like 11 and 17. They continue providing open-source security patches that anyone can use.
Right.
And this allows the various OpenJDK distributions, Adoptium Tamarin, Amazon Corretto, Azul Zulu, etc., to keep offering builds with security updates for many years, often matching or even exceeding the free update period from Oracle.
So the community effectively provides that long-term patching for OpenJDK LTS versions. That's impressive.
It is. The frequency of these LTS updates is usually quarterly, aligning with Oracle's critical patch update schedule, because the security fixes are generally contributed back to the OpenJDK project first. The main difference is where you get those updated binaries from Oracle, under NFTC or paid, or from one of the OpenJDK distributors. The long-term support policy for OpenJDK relies on this community commitment, and so far it's proven very solid.
Okay, so while Oracle offers guaranteed paid extended support, OpenJDK relies on community efforts and distributor support, providing long-term updates either for free or through potentially cheaper third-party support contracts. Right, let's try and tie this all together. Based on everything we've discussed, what are the recommended use cases? When should someone definitely choose Oracle JDK, and when is OpenJDK the better fit?
Good question. Let's break it down. Oracle JDK is typically recommended for enterprise environments that have a strong requirement for official support directly from Oracle. Maybe they already have a large support contract with Oracle for other products, or they absolutely need that direct vendor guarantee for critical Java issues.
Okay.
It also makes sense if you rely heavily on specific proprietary tools that might be bundled with an Oracle JDK subscription, or perhaps if you use third-party commercial software that only certifies its compatibility against Oracle JDK specifically, though that's becoming rarer.
Right.
And as we discussed, if you have legacy applications stuck on older versions like Java 8 or 11 and have absolutely no plans to migrate soon, paying for Oracle's extended support might be the only way to continue getting official security patches for years to come. So basically, if you value that direct manufacturer backing, guaranteed long-term stability via paid patches, and the license cost is justifiable for your business needs, Oracle JDK with a subscription could be the way to go.
Makes sense. For those specific, often large-scale enterprise needs. So when does OpenJDK really shine?
OpenJDK is arguably the more practical and cost-effective choice for the vast majority of modern use cases. It's ideal for development environments, testing, and learning, simply because you avoid any licensing complexities or costs.
Yeah, removes that friction.
It's highly recommended for cloud deployments, containerized applications using Docker, and Linux systems in general, where OpenJDK is often the default JDK installed. It's the preferred option if you want to avoid vendor lock-in and licensing costs and maintain flexibility.
Flexibility seems key there.
Absolutely. Companies with a strong open-source focus or mixed technology stacks often standardize on OpenJDK. Technically, as we've established, it offers the same core performance and functionality as Oracle JDK for almost all applications. It's also well-suited for agile organizations that plan to stay relatively current with Java versions, either by moving between LTS releases or adopting feature releases more regularly.
And support is available if needed.
Yep. If you do need commercial support for OpenJDK, several vendors offer it, often cheaper than Oracle. Or you can rely on the extensive community support and publicly available patches. So really, OpenJDK is recommended for almost all general scenarios, unless you have one of those specific reasons we mentioned to go with Oracle JDK.
That makes it very clear. It sounds like for most developers and many organizations today, OpenJDK is not just viable, but often the preferred, more flexible and cost-effective path.
Okay, just to quickly recap those key differences visually, maybe we could touch on that comparison table idea again. Yeah, absolutely. A quick table helps summarize. License, Oracle JDK is proprietary, NFTC for free use, subscription for long-term updates. OpenJDK is open source, GPL v2 plus CE, cost. Oracle JDK can require payment for production update support. OpenJDK is free, optional paid support from third parties. Source code, both are built from the same OpenJDK code base nowadays. Support, Oracle offers direct paid support. OpenJDK has community support plus optional paid support from various vendors. Performance, essentially equivalent. Compatibility, essentially equivalent, both past Java SE, TCK. Updates, same release cadence. Oracle controls its update policy, NFTC paid. OpenJDK updates rely on community distributors long-term updates. That's the gist of it, really.
Perfect. That's a great quick reference. And just to wrap things up, how has this whole landscape evolved recently, and what trends are we seeing for the future?
Well, the last 5 or 6 years have been pretty dynamic. That 2018 shift by Oracle starting to charge for production updates really galvanized the community to emphasize that Java is still free, meaning OpenJDK. Remember the forums back then, just tons of questions and uncertainty.
Right, force the conversation.
Totally. And it definitely fueled the growth of the OpenJDK ecosystem. We saw numerous distributions like Adopt OpenJDK, now Adoptium Temurin, Amazon Corretto, Azul Zulu, Liberica JDK, all gaining significant traction. Oracle then responded, partly, with the NFTC license in 2021, offering an official free path again, albeit time-limited for LTS updates.
And the faster LTS cycle?
Yeah, the move from a 3-year to a 2-year LTS cadence, agreed upon by Oracle and the community, also changed things. It accelerates Java's evolution, but reduces the free support window per LTS version under NFTC. Meanwhile, OpenJDK itself has seen continuous collaborative evolution. Companies like Red Hat, Amazon, Microsoft, IBM, they're all major contributors now, second only to Oracle in many cases. Red Hat in particular plays a huge role.
So OpenJDK has really solidified its place.
Absolutely. It's cemented itself as the universal foundation for Java. It's the default in most Linux distros. It's the base for Oracle's own JDK. And features that were once Oracle exclusives, like JFR and JMC, being open source has further closed any perceived gaps.
So the trend is?
The trend definitely favors OpenJDK for the majority of users. Oracle JDK is adapting with its temporary free options via NFTC, but OpenJDK offers more sustained freedom and flexibility. Oracle still provides significant value, especially for those needing their specific enterprise support. So I think we'll continue to see this dual path, a strong, open, free core with OpenJDK, complemented by commercial offerings like Oracle's for those with specific needs.
Excellent summary of the journey. Well, I think that brings us towards the end of our deep dive for today. Just to quickly recap the key points, we've looked at the critical differences in licensing, the nuances of support models, confirmed that performance and compatibility are largely identical now, and discussed update policies and typical use cases for both Oracle JDK and OpenJDK.
Yeah, hopefully this detailed exploration has brought some real clarity. We hope it helps everyone navigate the Java landscape with a bit more confidence, whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned Java veteran. Understanding these distinctions really is crucial.
Definitely. And maybe just one final thought to leave everyone with. Considering the growing strength and collaboration within the OpenJDK community and Oracle's own adaptations, are we seeing Java's future evolve into an even more open and accessible ecosystem? One where the choice between distributions becomes less about fundamental technical differences and more about specific support needs or bundled extras. Something to chew on.
That's a great question to ponder. And if you do have more questions or want to dig even deeper into any of this, we absolutely encourage you to check out the sources we mentioned earlier and explore the various OpenJDK distributions available out there. The learning journey in the Java world always has new, interesting paths to explore.
So true. A huge thanks for walking us through all that complexity today.
My pleasure.
And thanks to all of you for joining us on the deep dive. We'll catch you next time.